How many times do you think a person could get struck by lightning and survive? This man got hit 7 times and walked away from every single one. But that's not even the craziest part of this story. The 25th of June, 1977. Shenandoah National Park, Virginia. A 65-year-old man is sitting beside a lake, fishing, when lightning strikes him directly on the top of his head. His hair catches fire. The bolt travels down through his chest and stomach. He falls. A bear walks out of the tree line, heads toward his fishing line, and tries to steal his catch. He gets up, grabs a stick, chases the bear away, while his hair is still on fire. That was the 7th time Roy Sullivan had been struck by lightning, and he survived it. Before we get to how, here's a number worth sitting with. A single lightning bolt can reach roughly 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit hotter than the surface of the sun. It moves at a fraction of the speed of light, and in less than a second delivers more electrical current than most power plants generate in a year. There's an actual branch of medicine dedicated to what that does to the human body. It's called keratopathy. Almost nothing it studies is good news. Roy Sullivan lived through it 7 times. Roy Cleveland Sullivan was born in 1912 in Greene County, Virginia, and grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, a region that gets between 35 and 45 thunderstorm days per year. From 1936, he worked as a park ranger at Shenandoah National Park for 36 years. People described him as a stocky, broad-faced man who resembled the actor Gene Hackman, an ordinary man doing an ordinary job in an ordinary place. Until April 1942, he was working as a fire lookout, stationed inside a newly built tower, one with no lightning rod yet installed. A storm rolled in, and the tower took hit after hit, 7 or 8 strikes in a matter of minutes. Inside, he said later, it looked like fire was jumping across the room. He ran. A few feet outside the door, lightning found him anyway, burning a 1/2-inch strip down his right leg, blowing through his big toe, and tearing a hole clean through his shoe. 27 years later, he still thought that was the only time. He was wrong. In July 1969, he was driving along a mountain road when lightning hit a nearby tree and deflected through his open truck window, burning off his eyebrows and eyelashes and knocking him unconscious. The truck kept rolling on its own until it stopped near the edge of a cliff. He woke up not knowing where he was or how much time had passed. A year later, in July 1970, he was standing in his front yard. When lightning struck a nearby power transformer, the current jumped through the air and seared his left shoulder like a piece of meat on a grill. By the 4th time in 1972, he was working inside a ranger station when his hair caught fire again. He ran to the bathroom to put out the flames, but his head wouldn't fit under the tap. He had to use a wet towel instead. After the 4th strike, something in him changed. He started to believe that something was actively trying to destroy him. When he found himself caught in a storm while driving, he would pull over and lie down on the front seat and wait until the storm passed before he dared step outside. He started carrying a can of water with him everywhere he went because his hair kept catching fire and he needed something nearby to put it out immediately. Read that again. He carried water with him because his hair kept catching fire from lightning. He tried other things too. He had lightning rods installed not just on his house, but driven 7 feet into the ground around 6 separate trees on his property, an entire perimeter built to draw the strikes away from his body. It didn't work. When the lightning came again, it ignored every rod he'd planted and went for him directly. In August 1973, he was out on patrol in the park when he spotted a storm cloud forming in the distance. He drove away fast. He said later that the cloud seemed to be following him. It moved in the same direction he drove. When he finally thought he'd outrun it, he stepped out of his truck. Lightning struck immediately. It hit him on the head, traveled down his left arm and left leg, and blew his shoe clean off his foot. His hair caught fire. He put it out with a can of water. The 6th time, in June 1976, he was walking in the park, saw a cloud following him, tried to run, was struck anyway, and injured his ankle. And the 7th time, the 25th of June, 1977, he was fishing. Lightning hit the top of his head, burned his chest and stomach, and set his hair on fire one final time. Then the bear appeared. He chased it off with a stick while his hair was still burning. He later said it was the 22nd time in his life he had hit a bear with a stick. Guinness World Records confirmed Roy Sullivan as the person struck by lightning the most times in recorded history. The mathematical probability of being struck 7 times has been estimated at roughly 1 in 10 septillion, a number so large it becomes almost meaningless. 2 of his ranger hats, both with the crowns burned through, are on display at Guinness World exhibit halls in New York City and South Carolina. Every one of the 7 strikes was logged and signed off on by the park superintendent at the time. Skeptics have pointed out over the years that the timeline doesn't perfectly line up. The man credited with documenting all 7 wasn't even holding that position for some of the incidents. Nobody has definitively proven the count was inflated. Nobody has disproven it either. What's certain is that Roy Sullivan believed every one of those 7 strikes happened to his own body, and he lived the rest of his life according to that belief. But here is the part that never makes it into the Guinness listing. After the 4th strike, people started avoiding him, not because they disliked him, but because they were afraid to stand near him when there was a storm. Colleagues he had worked alongside for years, friends he had known for decades when thunder started, they found reasons to leave. He recalled one occasion where he was walking with the chief ranger when lightning struck in the distance. The chief ranger turned to him and said, "I'll see you later," and walked away. There was a restaurant near the park up on Loft Mountain that stopped letting him inside, not just during storms, but any time the sky simply looked overcast. He said he understood it. Who wants to sit next to the man lightning keeps finding? His wife was struck by lightning once when Sullivan stepped outside to help her hang laundry. He became lonely in a way that the newspaper articles about him never addressed, not lonely from a lack of people, but lonely because the people around him had come to see him as a hazard. He said it himself. It made him sad. By his later years, storms didn't just scare him, they reorganized his entire household. When the sky darkened, he'd send his wife and children into the living room and go sit alone in the kitchen, waiting it out by himself, so that if lightning came for him again, it would only find him. On the 28th of September, 1983, Roy Sullivan died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was 71 years old. The reported cause was a matter of the heart, not lightning. What exactly happened that morning, only he and the people closest to him will ever fully know. The man who survived 7 lightning strikes, each carrying hundreds of millions of volts, could not survive the most ordinary kind of human pain. His record still stands today. Nobody has broken it, and it's safe to say nobody is trying. Maybe that's the real ending to this story? Not that lightning struck him 7 times, but that surviving something extraordinary 7 times over didn't save him from something completely ordinary? The part that rarely gets mentioned, in a story usually told for its shock value, is how much simpler it might have been if someone had just chosen to stand next to him anyway. If this story left something in your head, hit subscribe because there are more strange and unforgettable stories just like this one waiting for you.